In this video, we will see the environmental engineering MCQs. You might be well aware that environmental engineering comprises of environmental engineering, water supply engineering, wastewater engineering. So here I have tried to cover the questions from all of these. I have taken 110 MCQs. So let's get started. The first question is, all of the MCQs that we are going to discuss today, you'll find it on my website. Now the first question is, the most important water quality parameter for domestic use of water is dash. I'll suggest you that you can pause the video and practice along with me. You think what's the correct answer and then again resume the video and then see the answer. It will be a great practice for you. So our correct answer is coliform group of organisms. That is, we have read that it should be 1 in 100, the E. coli. So the coliform group of organisms is the most important water quality parameter for the domestic use of water. The next question is, water table drops by 3 meters in irrigable land of 50 hectares. If the porosity and the specific retention are 0.3 and 0.1 respectively, the change in the storage in hectometer is dash. Okay, so here in the question, it is given to us that drop in the water table is 3 meters, the area is 50 hectares, porosity is given to us as 0.3 and the specific retention is 0.1. So the formula that we have to use here is SY plus SR is equal to porosity, that is specific yield plus specific retention is equal to porosity. So SY will be equal to 0.3 minus SR, that is this will be 0.2. Now we have to find the change in storage. So the change in storage will be equal to the area into the drop in the water table into the specific yield. So we'll just multiply this, 3 into 0.2 into 50, which is 30 hectometer. That is, our correct answer is 30 hectometer. The next question is, the minimum dissolved oxygen content in a river necessary for the survival of aquatic life is dash. So for the aquatic life, the minimum dissolved oxygen content must be 4 milligram per liter. Milligram per liter, that is ppm. Next is particulate matter, fly ash, carried in effluent gases from the furnaces burning fossil fuels are better removed by dash. So the ESPs, that is the electrostatic precipitators, are used for removing the particulate matter that is carried in the effluent gases from the furnaces burning fossil fuels. Now the next question is, population levels over 5 decades of a small town are given below. Population for the years 1960, 1970, 1980, 1990 and 2000 is 2,50,000, 2,80,000, 3,40,000, 4,20,000 and 4,90,000 respectively. The population of the town in the year 2020 estimated by the arithmetic increase method will be dash. So this is the question given to us. Now the first step in the arithmetic increase method is to find the increment. So now here the increment will be 30,000, then 3,40,000 minus 2,80,000, that is 60,000. Then this one, 4,20,000 minus 3,40,000, which will be 80,000. And 4,90,000 minus 4,20,000, that is 70,000. Once we have found the increment, we'll find the average, that is 30,000 plus 60,000 plus 80,000 plus 70,000 divided by 4. On solving this, we get 60,000. Now we have to find the population of the year 2020. So it will be equal to the population of 2000 plus n into the average increment. Now here n is 2. Why? Because it's asked for the year 2020, and from 2000 to 2020, that is 2 decades. So it will be 2 into 60,000. That is 4,90,000 plus 1,20,000, which is, we get it as 6,10,000. That is our correct answer, is 6,10,000. Whenever you are practicing, you can click on submit to see the answers. Now let's go to our next question. What is alkalinity of water? So by alkalinity of water, we mean that it is the presence of ions in water that will neutralize the hydrogen ions. The drop manholes are provided in sewerage system when there is dash. So whenever there is a change in the elevation of the ground level, we provide the drop manholes. The removal of dissolved organic matter occurs in dash. So from these, we use the trickling filters for the removal of the dissolved organic matter. The concentration of hardness producing cations may be estimated using dash. Spectrophotometer is used for determining the concentration of hardness producing cations. Which of the following valve is also known as non-return valve? The check valve is known as the non-return valve. Next question is, presence of fluoride in water greater than permissible level of 1.5 milligram per liter causes dash. This can even be asked as one more MCQ, like what is the permissible level of fluoride, which you got the answer from here only, that it is 1.5 milligram per liter. Now let's get back to this question. Presence of fluoride in water greater than permissible level of 1.5 milligram per liter causes dash. That is, if fluoride is more than 1.5 milligram per liter, then it will cause dental fluorosis. An inverted siphon is a dash. An inverted siphon is a section of sewer which is dropped below the hydraulic grade line in order to avoid an obstacle. Again, I'll repeat that it is a section of sewer which is dropped below the hydraulic grade line in order to avoid an obstacle. Symbiosis, the beneficial association between algae and bacteria, is used for treatment of wastewater in dash unit. So in the oxidation pond, we use the algal bacteria symbiosis for the treatment of the wastewater. The atmospheric level layer closest to the Earth's surface is dash. So troposphere is the most closest layer to the Earth's surface. If the total hardness and alkalinity of a water sample are 200 mg per liter as CaCO3 and 260 mg per liter, what are the values of the carbonate hardness and the non-carbonate hardness? So the carbonate hardness will be the minimum of the total hardness, and alkalinity, that is minimum of 200 and 260 is 200, and the non-carbonate hardness is equal to the total hardness minus the alkalinity, that is it will be 200 minus 260, which comes out as minus 60, that is we can't take the negative value, so we'll take it as 0. Let me just show you. Okay, so the carbonate hardness is minimum of total hardness and alkalinity, so we took the minimum, which is 200 mg per liter, and to find the non-carbonate hardness, it will be total hardness minus alkalinity, that is 200 minus 260, which is minus 60. As it is negative, we'll take the non-carbonate hardness as 0. So our correct answer will be 200 mg per liter and 0. Flocculation is a process. Flocculation is a process that promotes to aggregation of the small particles into larger particles to enhance their removal by gravity. That is, the small particles aggregate into the larger particles so that they can be removed by gravity. Standard 5-day BOD of a wastewater sample is nearly X% of the ultimate BOD. So it is X% of the ultimate BOD. Now here this X is 68. That is, the standard 5-day BOD of a wastewater sample is nearly 68% of the ultimate BOD. During temperature inversion in atmosphere, air pollutant tend to dash. Then, during temperature inversion in atmosphere, the air pollutants will tend to accumulate below the inversion layer. The design overflow rate of a sedimentation tank is chosen considering, so we choose the design overflow rate of a sedimentation tank based on the diameter of the particle intended to be removed. The following zones formed in a polluted river. First one is the zone of clear water, second the zone of active decomposition, third zone of recovery, fourth zone of degradation. Now we have to find the correct sequence in which the zones occur progressively downstream in a polluted river. Then you need to remember that first of all, the first zone will be zone of degradation, then it will be the zone of active decomposition, Then we have the zone of recovery, and finally the zone of clear water. So here our correct answer will be 4, 2, 3, 1. The next question is, a town water supply scheme is commonly designed for a population. We estimate the population after 3 decades in order to design a town water supply scheme. Next question is, as per the Indian standard specifications, the peak discharge for the domestic purposes per capita per minute is taken as dash. 1.8 liters for 5 to 10 users, 1.35 liters for 20 users, 1.2 liters for 15 users. All of these are correct. So the peak discharge for the domestic purposes per capita per minute depends on the number of users. Like if there are 5 to 10 users, we take it as 1.8 liters. 20 users, we take it as 1.35 liters. And for 15 users, it's 1.2 liters. A water supply scheme is to be designed for an area with over 90% population as lower income group. What should be the water demand in liters per day considered in designing such system? So we know that we take it as 135 LPCD. That is, our correct answer will be 135. The total water consumption, including domestic, commercial and industrial demands for average Indian people is dash. So if we find the total water consumption including the domestic, commercial and industrial demands for average Indian people, it is 270 LPCD. Which of the following method is used to forecast the population of old and very large city? Arithmetical increase method is the method that we use to forecast the population of the old and very large city. If the chosen diameter of a pipe is less than the economical diameter, then what happens? So if the chosen diameter of a pipe is less than its economic diameter, then the cost of pumping will be more than saving. Cost of pipe will be less and the head loss will also increase. So all of these are correct. In centrifugal pump installation, the diameter of the pipe at the inlet as well as at outlet is kept smaller than the delivery pipe, and pump is properly primed before starting. So for the centrifugal pump installation, both of these are correct. That is, the diameter of the pipe at the inlet as well as at the outlet is kept smaller than the delivery pipe, and the pump is properly primed before starting. Pick up the correct statement from the following. Water needed for laundries should contain hardness less than 75 ppm. Water with hardness more than 200 ppm is considered as hard. Water with hardness up to 75 ppm is considered to be soft. So all of these statements are correct, that the water that is needed for laundries should contain hardness less than 75 ppm. Water with hardness more than 200 ppm we consider it as hard, and with hardness up to 75 ppm is considered to be soft. While determining the yield of open wells by the pumping test, the maximum safe yield of an open well is expected at critical depression head. Maximum safe yield of an open well is expected at the critical depression head while we are determining the yield of open wells by using the pumping test. Pick up the correct statement from the following. The difference between the water table level and the water level in a well after pumping is known as the depression head. So yes, of course, the depression head is the difference between the water table level and the water level. Then the surface of the water table surrounding a well during pumping forms a cone of depression. So this is also true. The water level in a steel well represents the groundwater table level. This is also correct. That is, all of these statements are correct. Standard EDTA solution is used to determine the dash. We use the EDTA solution to determine the hardness in water. Which chemical indicator turns water into pink color if the pH is more than 8.3? So the chemical indicator that will turn water into pink color if the pH is more than 8.3 is phenolphthalein. Alkalinity in water is expressed as milligram per liter in terms of dash. We express the alkalinity in terms of calcium carbonate. pH of seawater varies from dash. The pH of seawater will vary from 7.5 to 8.4. The major portion of alkalinity in natural waters is caused by hydroxide carbonate and bicarbonate cause the major portion of alkalinity in natural waters. This is not a single name. Here there will be a comma between hydroxide and carbonate. So it is hydroxide, carbonate and bicarbonate. Tintometer is used for color. The rain is called as acid rain if the pH is less than 5.6. If the pH is less than 5.6, then the rain is called as acid rain. On which scale turbidity is measured? We measure turbidity on the standard silica scale. Temporary hardness in water is caused by the presence of bicarbonates of calcium and magnesium cause temporary hardness in water. What is the most common source of acidity in water? Carbon dioxide is the most common source of acidity in water. Backwashing is highly effective in case of dash. So for rapid sand filter, we use backwashing. Kuchling's formula for fire demand is given by, the correct formula is Q is equal to 3182 root P, where P is the population. Which of the following diseases is not considered to be waterborne? So from all of these options, smallpox is not considered to be waterborne. Excessive fluoride concentration in drinking water causes problems related with bones and joint stiffness. If there is excessive fluoride concentration in the drinking water, then it can cause problem related to bones and joint stiffness. In which method population increase is assumed to be constant decade to decade? If it is assumed to be constant from decade to decade, then it is arithmetic progress method. And if the percentage is assumed to be constant, then it would be geometric progression method. In slow sand filter, effective size of particle is dash. So for slow sand filter, the effective size of the particle is 0.2 to 0.3 mm. As per the Indian standard, iron in drinking water should not exceed, it should not be more than 0.3 milligram per liter. For old town or city, which water distribution system is useful? So if we talk about the old town or city, then the dead end system is useful for the water distribution. At lower pH, the contact water greater than 5 and result in formation of period required for chlorination is dash. So it will be lower. At lower pH, the contact period required for chlorination is dash. So when chlorine is added in water, then it will react with water, and at a pH of water greater than 5, it results in the formation of highly unstable HOCl. That is, at lower pH, it exists in the HOCl form, and so it will require less contact period. That is, our answer will be lower. The acceptable limits of total dissolved salts for drinking water is dash. So the TDS should not be more than 500 milligram per liter. Aeration of water is done to remove. We do aeration of water to remove odor. The underground structure in the form of circular or rectangular tank for admitting sewage is known as, we call it as cesspool. Cesspool is the underground structure in the form of circular or rectangular tank for admitting sewage. The application of chlorine beyond the stage of breakpoint is known as, when we apply chlorine beyond the stage of breakpoint, then it is known as superchlorination. A septic tank is a combined sedimentation and digestion tank. A septic tank is a combined sedimentation and digestion tank. a pipe installed in the house drainage to preserve the water seal of trap is known as anti-siphonage pipe. In order to preserve the water seal of trap, we install the anti-siphonage pipe in the house drainage. So this I have already told you previously, that if there is percentage increase and it is assumed to be constant decade to decade, then that method is geometric progression method. Which instrument is used to measure color in water? So we use tintometer to measure color in water. Which of the following is the correct method of water treatment? So you'll need to remember this, that firstly we'll do screening, then aeration, then sedimentation, coagulation, flocculation, filtration and disinfection. So here our correct answer will be screening, then aeration, sedimentation, coagulation. What is the maximum permissible limit of fluoride in water? We have already discussed this, that it is 1.5 milligram per liter. What is the acceptable limit of hardness? So hardness can't be more than 200 milligram per liter. The quantity of water flowing per hour per unit horizontal area is known as, that is the volume upon area into time, which we call it as the overflow rate. Now, as discussed earlier, the correct sequence is screening, aeration, sedimentation, coagulation, flocculation, filtration and disinfection. So here the correct answer will be screening, sedimentation, filtration and disinfection. Dash is the application of chlorine before filtration. So when we apply chlorine before filtration, that process we call it as pre-chlorination. The coliform organism in 100 ml of drinking water should not be more than 1. That is 1 in 100 ml. In which treatment unit smooth deck is formed? So smooth deck is formed in slow sand filter. MPN index is a measure of, it is the measure of the biochemical oxygen demand. Crown corrosion in a reinforced concrete sewer is caused by hydrogen sulfide will cause crown corrosion in a reinforced concrete sewer. The unit in which both sedimentation and digestion process of sludge take place simultaneously is, Imhoff tank is the unit in which both sedimentation and digestion processes of sludge will take place simultaneously. Which of the following test of water or wastewater employs Erichrome black tea as an indicator? We use the Erichrome black tea as an indicator while performing the test of hardness. Presence of nitrogen in a waste sample is due to the decomposition of, when proteins get decomposed, then nitrogen will be present in that waste sample. As per IS 10,500 2012 for drinking water. In the absence of alternate source of water, the permissible limits for chloride and sulfate in milligram per liter respectively are dash. So the permissible limits for chloride and sulfate are 1000 and 400 milligram per liter respectively. That is, chloride should not be more than 1000 milligram per liter and sulfate should not be more than 400 milligram per liter. A single rapid test to determine the pollution status of the river water is dash. We perform the dissolved oxygen test, which is a single rapid test, in order to determine the pollution status of the river water. In an atmosphere under super adiabatic lapse rate conditions, the emission from a chimney produces a plume described as, it is known as looping. I'll repeat it again. In an atmosphere under super adiabatic lapse rate conditions, the emission from a chimney produces a plume which is described as looping. Air binding may occur in filter. Which of the following operational problem is not related to the functioning of a rapid gravity filter? So the problems such as negative head, mud balls formation, incrustation of media are the problems that are related with the functioning of a rapid gravity filter. So the sludge bulking is not related with the functioning of a rapid gravity filter. A water treatment plant having discharge 1 meter cube per second has 14 filters to treat the water. Each filter is having 50 meter square area, but due to backwashing activities, 2 filters are non-operational, and we have to calculate the hydraulic loading rate. So the formula to find the hydraulic loading rate is Q upon A, that is discharge upon area. Here the discharge is 1 meter cube per second and the area is 50 meters square. But the total area will be equal to area of each filter into the number of filters, which is here the number of filters will be equal to 14 minus 2, as 2 are non-operational, so it will be 12 into 50. So 1 upon 12 into 50. And this will get in meter cube per second meter square, but we are asked to find it in meter cube per day meter square. So we'll multiply this whole thing with 24 into 60 into 60. That is, in one day we have 24 hours, in 1 hour 60 minutes and 1 minute 60 seconds. So it will be 1 upon 12 into 50, and this whole thing multiplied by 24 into 60 into 60. So on solving this, we'll get it as 144 meter cube per day meter square. Total Zeldal nitrogen is a measure of, it's the measure of the total organic and ammonia nitrogen. The reference pressure used in the determination of the sound pressure level is dash. Here we are talking about pressure, so the unit will be Pascal. So 2 options will get eliminated, which is 10 decibel and 20 decibel. And the correct answer is 20 micropascal. that is the reference pressure used in the determination of the sound pressure level, is 20 micropascal. Zero hardness is achieved by, we can achieve zero hardness by ion exchange treatment. A sieve is commonly designed to attain self-cleansing velocity at minimum hourly rate of flow. The self-cleansing velocity, we call it as the minimum velocity, and it is the velocity at which no solids will get deposited at the bottom of the sieve. And so, it must be developed at least once a day, and a sieve is commonly designed to attain the self-cleansing velocity at minimum hourly rate of flow. You can click on submit and here you will find the explanation. For this question also the explanation is provided. Which one of the following sewage treatment units has partial flume? Great chamber is the sewage treatment unit that has partial flume. Which one of the following solid waste disposal method is ecologically most acceptable? Composting is one of the method for solid waste disposal and it is ecologically most acceptable. Electrostatic precipitators are used for the removal of dash. We use electrostatic precipitators to remove the particulate contaminants. What is the depth of water seal in traps? So the depth of water seal in traps is 2.5 cm to 7.5 cm. Sewage treatment in an oxidation pond is accomplished primarily by the same MCQ we had seen previously in a different way. At that time, I had told you that for the oxidation pond, the sewage treatment can be accomplished by algal bacterial symbiosis. Moving on to the next question. Which one of the following gases is the principal byproduct of anaerobic decomposition of the organic content in wastewater? When there is anaerobic decomposition of the organic content in wastewater, the principal byproduct will be CH4, that is methane. Aerosol is dispersion of the solid or liquid particles in gaseous media. Aerosol is dispersion of small solid or liquid particles in gaseous media. What type of noise can be abated by providing lining on walls and ceiling with sound absorbing material? When we are providing lining on the walls and ceiling with sound absorbing material, then we can remove the reflection noise. In sanitary plumbing of buildings, a two-pipe system signifies that there is a separate soil pipe and a waste pipe along with its own vent pipe. Sludge bulking can be controlled by, so we can control sludge bulking by chlorination. The average domestic consumption under normal condition in Indian city per day per person is 135 liters. The peak demand of water in Indian conditions is, so it's 2.7 of the annual average hourly demand. So the correct option will be 2.5 to 3 times of the annual average hourly demand. The total water requirement of a city is generally expressed on the basis of, it will be greater of A and B. That is, it will be greater of maximum daily demand plus fire demand, or the maximum hourly demand, whichever is greater. Turbidity in water is due to, it will be due to the colloidal particles. Water supply includes collection, transportation and treatment of water. All of the three things are included, which is collecting water, transporting and then treating. When the reduced level of the water source is higher than the reduced level of the consumer's place, that is, the RL of the water source is higher and the RL of the consumer's place is lower, then we'll be using the gravitational system. Specific capacity or yield of wells is generally expressed as, the unit for the specific capacity or yield of wells is meter cube per hour per meter square per meter. In pressure supply mains, water hammer pressure is reduced by providing, will reduce the water hammer pressure by providing the pressure relief valves. Turbidity of water is a measure of, it's the measure of the suspended solids. Surcharge storage zone of a reservoir is, it's above the useful storage. The surcharge storage zone of a reservoir is above the useful storage. The bacteria which require free oxygen for their survival are known as aerobic bacteria. Mostly used coagulant is alum. Gravity conduits are generally in the form of, it can be either in the form of flumes, aqueduct or canals. That is, all of these are correct. Gravity conduits are generally in the form of flumes, aqueduct, canals. Normal values of the overflow rate for the plain sedimentation tank is dash in liters per hour per meter square. So for the plain sedimentation tank, the overflow rate is 500 to 750 liters per hour per meter square. The bed slope in slow sand filters is generally kept as 1 in 100. The slope in case of the slow sand filters is 1 in 100. The process of passing water through beds of granular materials is known as, we call this process of passing water through the beds of granular materials as filtration. Methemoglobinemia or blue baby disease is caused due to the presence of nitrates. To control the growth of algae in reservoirs, the compound which is used is known as copper sulfate. We use copper sulfate to control the growth of algae in reservoirs. A pressure conduit laid underground may not be subjected to longitudinal temperature stress. When a pressure conduit is laid underground, it won't be subjected to longitudinal temperature stress. For the prediction of the future population of a city, the factor to be considered is all of these factors are to be considered, which is death, birth, and migrants. With this, we have completed all the 110 MCQs. Here are the pages. On each page, you'll find 5 MCQs. Once you complete the MCQs of the first page, you can go to the second page, then the third page, and so on. You'll find the link in description which will lead you to the first page. All of these MCQs will be helpful to you if you are preparing for some competitive exams like GATE, SSC-JE, ESE, or any other competitive exam. Some of the questions I have taken from the previous year GATE, some from the previous year ESE exams, and some from the SSC-JE exams. If we talk about the GATE exam, then it has 1 mark questions as well as 2 mark questions. So here in the 110 MCQs, I have covered the 1 mark questions. For the 2 mark questions, I'll create a separate video. With this, I'll just end the video. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comments. You can even mail me, or you can even contact me using my website. Thank you.